Washington Post reporters who helped break the Watergate scandal. Carl, so good to see you, as always. I want to start with one of the things that I know you found most intriguing in the Michael Cohen prepared testimony, because it gets to the idea of whether or not there was a conspiracy with Russia to impact the election. Cohen will testify today, quote, "Questions have been raised about whether I know of direct evidence that Mr. Trump or his campaign colluded with Russia. I do not. I want to be clear, but I have my suspicions. I recalled Don Jr. leaning over to his father and speaking in a low voice, which I could clearly hear, and saying, 'The meeting is all set.' I remember Mr. Trump saying, 'Okay, good, let me know.' What struck me as I looked back and thought about that exchange between Don Jr. and his father was that Don Jr. would never set up any meeting of any significance alone, and certainly not without checking with his father. So I concluded that Don Jr. was referring to that June 2016 Trump Tower meeting about dirt on Hillary. Now, that's not definitive evidence, but it's a suspicion.
Yeah, and it's very important because, like the allegation about WikiLeaks, like the picture of the Trump organization as basically a criminal organization, all of these questions go to the Mueller investigation. There are bricks in the Mueller investigation and bricks in the investigation by the Southern District of New York. And what we're looking for here, if indeed Cohen is telling the truth, is the mortar between those bricks, the context. We've got to be assuming that Mueller is going to tell a full story. And now we're seeing what the foundation of that story is, partly through this extraordinary witness.
Wolf?
You know, as you look back, a lot of people think, and you'll remember this well because you covered it for the Washington Post, this is a potential John Dean moment that we're about to see. When John Dean, who once was the president's lawyer in the White House, went before Congress and testified against then-President Richard Nixon, and we know what happened in the weeks and months that followed. Is this today potentially a John Dean moment?
The dynamic of it is potentially a John Dean moment, but there are big differences. One, Cohen was never in the White House with President Trump, whereas Dean served the President of the United States as his counsel in the White House. Also, this guy was a flunky. He was a runner. He was a fixer. Trump always held him in relative contempt if you look at the history of the relationship between the two men. Very different with John Dean, who was really a principal in the cover-up. But what is similar is both witnesses explained the White House cover-up, the presidential cover-up, if indeed this testimony is credible. It goes to helping us understand why the president has been lying day in, day out about all things Russian. It is very serious business for the American people, particularly to hear. It's also serious business to see what the Republicans are going to do, because as we just saw with Representative Comer, the instinct throughout these 2 years has been for Republicans to almost blindly support the President of the United States, despite the fact, as the Washington Post has said, that there are 8,000 some lies, using the word lies, told by the President, and the most important of which consistently deal with these matters that he's going to testify to today.
Carl Bernstein, thank you so much for your expertise on this, as always. In just moments, President Trump's former attorney and fixer, Michael Cohen, will face off with the House Oversight Committee. His explosive testimony coming up. Stay with us.
AT&T provides edge-to-edge intelligence, covering virtually every part of your healthcare business, so that if she has a heart problem and the staff needs to know, they will. And they'll drop everything.
Can you take a look at her vitals?
And share the data with other specialists.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now.
And they'll drop everything.
Okay.
And take care of this baby.
Yeah, that procedure seems right.
And that one, too. AT&T provides edge-to-edge intelligence. It can do so much for your business, the list goes on and on. That's the power of and. And when your patient's tests come back, you can immediately discover.
Run with us on a John Deere 1 Series tractor, because changing your attachments should be as easy as
What about this?
changing your plans.
Yeah.
Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more.
I'm really into this car, but how do I know if I'm getting a good deal? I tell